Lens correction filter. Hi guys, let's continue our conversation about distortion filters, fisheye and other effects, and today we are going to talk about a filter called the lens correction. With it you can both remove various distortions and create them. Let's try to create one first. We will go to the filter and select lens correction. I have set the appropriate scale of the image so that it is convenient to work, and let's see what we can do. We can change the image, both using the tools that are on the left and by changing the data that we have on the right. On the right we have an auto correction section, and there is a custom correction, where the data will be entered manually. Since we have a normal image without distortion, then nothing happens when using auto correction. By the way, please note that the software immediately detects all the data of the camera that took this image. So, let's look at the tools first. The first tool allows us to create a fisheye effect. I'm now moving the mouse to the left, holding down the left key, or vice versa, bending it in the opposite direction. Well, that's what's going on. You can create a fisheye effect like this. The following tool allows us to align the image. I want to say that this is not at all an analog of a tool that allows you to align the perspective. Well, for example, your photo is a little crooked, and you need to align it. Then you just draw a line with this tool, and the image is rotated so that this line becomes vertical. You repeat one of the lines of your image, and it becomes vertical. But if you draw another line, the image will now rotate relative to this line. Thus, there is no such alignment that we did with you in the last lesson. Next, we have the grid tool, just the same, that allows us to align a picture. We can move it and somehow set it according to our image, so that it is convenient for us. Here, for example, I have now aligned it, put the grid in this way, and let's try using the alignment tools to straighten this wall. So I drew a straight line. And look, this line has aligned relative to the grid. Now let's do this one. And look, this line has straightened out, and the previous line has distorted again. This is exactly the difference between this filter and the filter that we studied last time. When I talked about the filter we studied last time, I mean adaptive wide angle. And now let's see how we can make all the same action in a slightly different way. Go to the Custom tab and look. By moving the slider, we can either create a fisheye effect when we move to the left, or conversely, the image will be drawn inwards. Well, it won't have a lot of effect here. By the way, let's just leave this fisheye effect. Let's have it. Next, we have a distortion, which is called chromatic aberration. Sometimes, due to some features of shooting not very good equipment, we have a colored border along the contour of our image. Unfortunately, it's not very possible to find such a poor quality image. So, let's artificially create this, so that you can see what it is. Look, I'm moving the slider now, and along the contour of the building I have this green border. This is a chromatic aberration. Now, if you get this defect, you need to remove it. Then, just with the help of the sliders, you can remove it. I press Alt and click. I return a scale that would be convenient to work with. And let's look at the vignette. The vignette allows us to darken or eliminate the edges. For example, I'm moving it here, and we have such an interesting effect that allows us to focus our attention on the central part of the image, or conversely, we can eliminate the edges. It seems to me that darken option is somehow better, and you can adjust the dimming using the midpoint parameter. Well, suppose it's used me like this. The next parameter we have refers to the transform perspective. But I think we'll look at this in the next exercise. Here I want to show you the scale. Look, if we reduce it, you can see how our image has changed relative to the original one. Let's leave it as it is. We will assume that we have applied the effect. Click OK. And here is our image. We need to crop it a lot. That's it. At first the image was like this, but in my opinion we made it more expressive. And we got this image. And now let's use the same filter to try to remove the fisheye effect. Last time we did it using the adaptive wide angle filter, but depending on the composition of the image and on your personal preferences, it is sometimes more convenient to use the filter that we are going through now, called the lens correction. Here I have a check mark for auto scale image, and as you can see, to some extent, this effect was immediately removed. Let's go to the Custom tab and try to fix it manually. Let's start with the geometric distortion, with which we just created the fisheye effect. If you look at the icons, you can guess which way to move the slider. That's what happens. If you move like this or like this, I think I will probably stop at this value. I have no aberration here. We won't touch the vignette either, but it is easy to notice that in addition to the distortion, which is called fisheye, there is clearly a distortion in perspective, and we will need to change the value vertically. Here probably we will still reduce it a little, so probably it will be more correct. So now let's move on here. Let's move on to perspective. In general, we have a hint in the form of icons. It is clear that we need to move the slider here, which is what we are doing to align our perspective. You can even turn on the grid to see how well the alignment is going on. Let's do it like this. Well, I think that's the closest thing. Although, of course, it's not perfect, so we can also move a little horizontally. Okay, I think that these parameters most correspond to a realistic image, although of course it's not perfect, and you can still refine it, in some places, with the help of the adaptive wide angle, in order to have a perfect image. Well, here is what we got. If we make the scale smaller, then it is visible what we ended up with. Let's click OK and crop our image. There is nothing you can do about it. Some parts of the image with such a correction shall be cropped. And that's what we got as a result. Well, probably, in order to somehow improve the composition, you can still, I think, crop these edges a little too. So, compositionally, it will still be somehow more attractive. Like that. And let's compare. We had an image like this, and in the end, it turned out something completely different. Even perhaps, it is not immediately possible to guess that this is the same place. It is just a very big difference. We studied a lens correction filter, and today's homework will be firstly to create a fisheye effect and add vignette to it, and secondly to remove the fisheye effect so that the image becomes like this. This concludes today's lesson. It was Peter Romanov and AIM School. See you next time.